Welcome everybody online to the Raymond Terrace Investor event hosted on behalf of Commercial Collective and Port Stephens Council. Dane Crawford is my name, CEO and licensee in charge at Commercial Collective. And we've got an exciting event here, something that I believe is quite pioneering and really forward thinking. So yeah, on behalf of the team, we're really excited to bring this to you guys who are watching online, and no doubt you guys will get some value out of it. We've got some really good speakers here today. So we've got Mayor Leah Anderson, Port Stephens Council, Steve Peart, Director of Community Futures, Port Stephens Council, Bob Hawes, CEO of Business Hunter. We've also got Sarah Willcox, my colleague, Commercial Collective, who will be facilitating the Q&A, and also myself, as mentioned. We'll be also doing an overview of the market within Raymond Terrace and what drives demand and how that's realised on the ground. So just a little bit of housekeeping to let you guys know with the event today. So we will be running some surveys throughout the event, and you can use the QR code on each of the question slides to submit your answer. And this will gauge your thoughts on the Raymond Terrace market and provide some really valuable insight to us. So, without further ado, we've only got an hour and a half and there's a lot to get through. So I'd like to introduce Lord Mayor Leah Anderson, Port Stephens Council, who will be doing a short presentation and also our welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dane. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that today we may be meeting on many Aboriginal lands, but all of the council team this afternoon, including myself, are on Worimi land, who are the original custodians and inhabitants of Port Stephens. May we walk the road to tomorrow with mutual respect and admiration as we care for the beautiful land and waterways together. Next slide, please. So, the opportunities for Raymond Terrace. Well, once again, good afternoon and welcome everybody. It is a pleasure to be here virtually with you all today. I would like to thank our partners at Commercial Collective for helping bring this event together and for their continued work connecting industry and investment opportunities right across the region. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank the Port Stephens councillors who are joining us online today. We're here because Raymond Terrace is entering a really important period of growth and transformation. We believe there is a genuine opportunity for industry and government to work together to help shape that future. Today is about sharing the opportunities we see in Raymond Terrace. The planning, the infrastructure work is already underway, and how council is supporting investment and development right across our region. Raymond Terrace is one of the Lower Hunter's key strategic regional centres, and we are planning confidently for growth. By 2041, the population in Raymond Terrace is forecasted to grow by more than 5,400 people. Now, that level of growth creates significant long-term demand for housing, services, jobs and investment. To support this growth, Council has identified the need for more than 2,500 new homes across a mix of housing types. Importantly, this is not just a housing story. Growth also creates demand for retail and commercial development, mixed-use precincts, employment opportunities, and town centre activation. Raymond Terrace has genuine capacity to accommodate that growth and evolve into a more vibrant and connected regional centre. Next slide, please. So, connectivity and regional positioning. One of Raymond Terrace's greatest strengths is its location. Raymond Terrace offers comparatively affordable land with one of the Hunter's fastest growing economic corridors. Now, we're just 15 minutes down the road from Newcastle Airport and the Williamtown RAF base, and only 25 minutes from the Newcastle CBD. And we're also positioned alongside major employment and industrial growth areas, including Tomago, Heather Brae, and the emerging airport and aerospace precinct. And that connection is only growing right now by major public works investment. The $2.1 billion M1 Pacific Motorway extension project is well underway, and it's ahead of schedule, which is really, really exciting. The Heatherbrae bypass and the motorway works are actively moving forward to hook us directly into the national highway network. Now, these projects will further strengthen connectivity, freight access, and investor confidence right across our region. And that confidence extends directly to our tourism sector. With Newcastle Airport's massive upgrade, we're expanding capacity to welcome over 1 million additional passengers right to our doorstep. Now, this incredible flux of visitors is going to feed directly into our local visitor economy. Tourism is a major economic asset for Port Stephens. It generates over $800 million for the local economy, and it's exactly why we were recently named What If's 2025 Aussie Town of the Year. And just last week, I'm excited to say that Shoal Bay won the NRMA People's Choice Award for Small Tourism Town at the New South Wales Top Tourism Town Awards. Now, this is a public voted award and showcases just how much our visitors love Shoal Bay, which sits right on Raymond Terrace's doorstep, and it celebrates our incredible community pride. Next slide, please. So, planning for growth. Council is planning ahead for this growth through the Raymond Terrace Place Plan. Now, this is a long-term vision for how the town centre and the surrounding precincts evolve over the next 20 years. The Place Plan is about providing a greater certainty for industry, identifying where growth should occur, and ensuring investment is supported by infrastructure, public spaces, and strategic planning. We want the industry to engage with us early, work with us, and help us shape the future of Raymond Terrace. Council is supportive of investment that delivers housing, jobs, services, and long-term community benefit. I'd like to thank you all again for your time today, and I'll hand back over to Dane.
Anderson. Very informative. Next speaker, Stephen Peart, Director of Community Futures, Port Stephens Council, who will discuss local government and strategic planning. Over to you, Stephen.
Thanks, Dane. Thanks, Mayor, and thanks, Bob, for contributing to this today. Good afternoon to everyone who's online. Really great to see so many people joining us today from across the industry. I think there's over 200 people registered. And my role today here is to provide a really practical local government perspective on why Port Stephens Council sees genuine opportunity in Raymond Terrace, and importantly, what we are doing together to support investment, streamline delivery, and unlock growth. From Council's perspective, this isn't just about planning. It's not just about town planning documents or aspirations. It's about creating the right conditions for development to happen. I'll have the next slide, please. As we heard from the Mayor earlier, Raymond Terrace is a regionally significant strategic centre within the Lower Hunter. It already performs a really important role as a service, retail, and administrative hub for Port Stephens and its surrounding communities. But what makes it particularly compelling right now is its position within one of the fastest evolving economic corridors in regional New South Wales. At the same time, Raymond Terrace remains comparatively affordable compared to more mature urban markets. And that combination of connectivity, affordability, and growth momentum creates a really strong investment opportunity and proposition. And importantly, Council is actively supporting that growth. One of the key strengths of Raymond Terrace is that housing growth is being supported by broader employment and economic growth right across the region. Raymond Terrace sits within a significant industrial and logistics corridor that includes Tomago, Heatherbrae, the airport precinct mentioned by the Mayor, and emerging defence and aerospace industries. We're seeing continued demand for industrial and employment lands associated with freight, logistics, advanced manufacturing and aviation-related industries. Council is working to expedite development in the Tomago to Williamtown Enterprise Corridor. Economic growth in this corridor is a key Port Stephens Council community advocacy priority to the New South Wales Government. Council strategic planning is supporting investment and employment growth with recent works, including a subdivision approval in Heatherbrae, and we're working on a planning proposal to increase land uses and land use availability at Tomago. We recognise that growth in the area will drive industry and local employment and stimulate growth in Raymond Terrace as the centre for workers and supporting business. Importantly, our approach is not simply about delivering more housing in isolation. It's about planning complete communities connected to jobs, services, infrastructure, and transport networks. Next slide, please. And housing is one of the biggest challenges facing our region. We all know that, and it's one of Council's highest priorities. We're focusing on housing supply, diversity, and affordability for our community. Our housing priorities for Raymond Terrace focus on increased supply of infill housing in the CBD and surrounding residential precincts. Diversifying housing opportunities to include small lot detached housing, low, mid and high-rise development opportunities, and mixed-use outcomes. Town centre renewal and increased housing opportunities and improvements in provision of social and affordable housing. The opportunity is no longer just greenfield growth. It's about delivering more diverse housing closer to services, transport, jobs, and community infrastructure. Council's housing supply plan identifies Raymond Terrace as a key area where intervention is needed to stimulate investment and increase housing supply within the town centre and surrounding precincts. Council is already supporting that through strategic planning reforms, infrastructure investment, public domain improvements, and activating council-owned land opportunities. Importantly, there is already strong development momentum occurring across the Raymond Terrace area. At Kings Hill, 10 minutes north of Raymond Terrace, Council recently approved 225 residential lots at Monarch's Rise Estate. We're currently assessing an additional application for 66 and 365 lots. There's also a state significant proposal for a new residential suburb of approximately 2,500 dwellings just 10 minutes from the Raymond Terrace CBD. Demand from the development's future residents is anticipated to expand the commercial and retail centre of Raymond Terrace. Beyond housing, we're also seeing growing interest in industrial and employment generating development associated with the broader Hunter Logistics and Airport corridor. These projects demonstrate growing confidence in the region and reinforce the long-term growth trajectory of Raymond Terrace. The next slide, please. One of the most important things local government can do is create certainty and reduce unnecessary barriers to investment. Over recent years, Port Stephens Council has worked really hard to transform our development assessment processes and improve the customer experience. Since 2021, Port Stephens has consistently ranked among the best performing councils in New South Wales for development assessment timeframes for councils assessing more than 500 applications a year. Last year, our average DA assessment timeframe was just 57 days, the fastest in the Hunter region. For some greenfield developments, approvals have been streamlined to as low as 10 days. We've achieved this through streamlined referral pathways, fast-track assessment processes, improved pre-lodgement support, specialist development support officers, and earlier planning involvement during the rezoning stage. We've also recently digitised our development control plan, our DCP, making it significantly easier for landholders builders and consultants to navigate planning controls and application requirements online. We also have dedicated paraplanners available to help guide applicants right through the process. Our message to industry is quite simple. Council wants to work collaboratively to help good projects get delivered fast. Another important piece of work currently underway is the Raymond Terrace Place Plan. The Mayor mentioned this earlier. The Place Plan is translating community aspirations into practical planning and infrastructure actions that support growth and investment. Through community and stakeholder engagement, we've heard strong support for more housing diversity, increased town centre activity, improved public spaces, stronger retail and hospitality offerings, and a much more vibrant and connected town centre. As part of this work, Council has already lodged a scoping proposal with the Department of Planning seeking planning reforms within the town centre precinct of Raymond Terrace. This includes amendments to building heights, changes to heritage conservation provisions, and active street frontage controls. The goal is quite straightforward: to support increased residential, commercial, and employment opportunities within the Raymond Terrace Town Centre. Alongside this, Council expects to invest more than $4 million over the next 5 years in recreation and civil infrastructure projects across Raymond Terrace. These investments are designed to improve livability, support growth, and increase investor confidence. Next slide, please. Raymond Terrace is not starting from scratch. It already has a strategic location advantage. It has strong regional connectivity, a growing population demand, affordable market entry points, and of course, a committed local government support. What Council is focused on now is creating the right planning settings, infrastructure investment, and delivery pathways to unlock that potential. We understand the role local government plays in creating confidence for investors, and we're committed to continuing to improve the way we work with industry to help deliver housing, jobs, and long-term sustainable growth for Raymond Terrace and the broader region. I appreciate the opportunity today, and I look forward to further discussion. Thanks, Dane.
Thank you so much for that informative presentation, Stephen. We do have our first survey question for the event. So what is the biggest challenge facing housing delivery? People online, if you could.
Happy to answer that question, Dane. Do you want to just fire that one off again for me? The biggest challenge?
I think we're going to do the Q&A at the end, Stephen. So this one of the survey questions for the viewers online.
My apologies.
That's all right. So what is the biggest challenge facing housing delivery? Good. A few more moments. Just reminding everyone with the QR code to scan that. Here we go. We've got some coming in. It's like we're at an auction asking for a first bid. Radio silence. Here we go. The room's warming up now. They're rolling in. Construction costs, infrastructure, feasibility, constraints, construction costs seem to be a big one. Interesting. Planning approvals, construction costs.
Wow.
We keep it rolling, or? Yeah, they're still coming in. Yeah, so construction costs, definitely a clear winner in terms of the biggest challenges. Feasibility, infrastructure, which would play into that. And planning approval. is very low. Very interesting. Still more? Okay. All right, that was a good response. Okay, so that was some really clear insights there. Thank you for everyone online providing that. And thank you again, Stephen, and also Mayor Anderson for your presentations, which leads me to my presentation. So Dane Crawford, as I introduced myself earlier, co-founder, CEO and licensee in charge at Commercial Collective. And interestingly, I didn't actually realise that councils got rated like best council, so it's good to hear that Port Stephens are high up there on the list. And working with quite a number of councils, I can definitely say that it's refreshing dealing with Port Stephens Council from an industry perspective. The councillors and Mayor Anderson and also the team at Port Stephens Council, they really seem to be aligned on the direction of where they're headed and the strategy around that. So it's very, very pleasing. Hearing the presentations from both Stephen and Mayor Anderson, it's really touched on a lot of the points that I was going to discuss from a market perspective and feasibility perspective, and they're really the underlying catalysts for, I guess, what drives investment and economic uplift and also positive returns. So if we can just move into the next slide. So in terms of market overview, the previous presentations have really touched on that in terms of market positioning, Raymond Terrace demographic, the location, infrastructure, connectivity and around the growth. But before the catalysts of a lot of those talking points have even landed, it's already a market that's quite tight. And you've got the medium house price that sits around $700,000. You've got last year's growth was between 8.5% and 9%. You've got a vacancy rate that's under 2%. So it's very tight. It's not a sleepy service town that a lot of people sort of associate Raymond Terrace with. It's actually it's a market right now that's running quite warm. And that's before a lot of these infrastructure projects are delivered, which is going to be a massive catalyst for growth in the area. In terms of demographic, the average median age is 38. The median or average household income is just under $1,300 a week, and a third of the households are renters, which that's it's a working town, trade, services, logistics, and from my perspective, that really matters to have those insights, because it's also exactly the base that Newcastle's renewal precinct started from before they were re-rated with a lot of the private or a lot of the government investment and key infrastructure projects, but before they really took off. In terms of strategic location, it's been talked about a lot. When you're taking a helicopter view of where Raymond Terrace sits and its proximity to a lot of those key economic and employment nodes, it's very, very well and strategically located. You've got Newcastle to the south, which from a macro perspective is really considered a mini major these days. There's it's a real hotspot and highlight from a national perspective, and Raymond Terrace is just 20 minutes away from that. You've also got the airport and defence precinct to the east, and the industrial corridor, which is right on the doorstep. And I'll come to why that junction is really feeds into this whole Raymond Terrace story, which from an agency perspective, I think is really, really exciting for what the future holds for it. Those key infrastructure and connectivity projects, both Stephen and Mayor Anderson touched on that, but the biggest one is, from my perspective, is that M1 extension into Hexham, and that's really going to be a big unlock from an economic perspective. It's going to remove a massive bottleneck in around the Heatherbrae and Tomago precincts, and also provide direct access into Raymond Terrace town centre as well. Population growth, the state expects Port Stephens to grow by 20,000 people over the next 20 years. So it's there's a strong population growth flagged, and when you look at, what are the fundamentals from an investment perspective, there's a few key items that you really look at, and that's, the underlying economic or employment diversity. Are there jobs? The population growth, the affordability piece. So, how expensive it is, and can you afford to actually buy a property in the area? There's some of the key items that you look at. Those economic and employment drivers. So next slide, if you don't mind. This is the one that I really wanted to touch on because, that's, I've seen it time and time again how important key infrastructure projects are in their delivery, and then what it does to the local and broader community from an investment perspective. We've seen it in Newcastle, what's happened when that heavy rail corridor came out, and then when the City of Newcastle Council really adopted, a real development appetite in around that Newcastle West precinct, and what it did from an investment perspective. It really created a massive boom of both private, local, and out of area investment, and the local and broader community really benefited from that. So these infrastructure projects, from my perspective, are massive to unlocking the future uplift in value, but also economic output for Raymond Terrace and the greater region. So, just touching on some of these projects, the M1 motorway extension, that's the biggest one, and that I believe is going to be, it's almost completed. It's going to be completed this year. They actually brought forward the completion date, so that is that's going to be completed this year. You watch what happens as soon as that is open. They've also completed the Hexham Strait upgrade, so anyone that's gone through there will have experienced the benefit of that. The Newcastle Airport expansion, which has been widely discussed and spoken about into International Airport. I think Bob's going to also touch on that as well, and the Astra Aero Lab development that the airport is undertaken, and the take up of those businesses within that precinct, and also the residual or auxiliary businesses that will come in to support those primes will have a massive benefit to Raymond Terrace and the broader region. So the Williamtown defence and aviation sector, so that growth and also the investment and upgrades through that precinct, that's widely established and provides a strong employment base. So there, what happens when these infrastructure projects are actually delivered is that it provides more certainty to private enterprise, and that's really what private enterprise are chasing is certainty around what is the outcome in which they're going to be able to achieve, and these infrastructure projects go a long way with helping unlock that. For example, with the Tomago Industrial Precinct, one of the key hurdles for that area has been the bottleneck of access in and out, and this M1 motorway extension is going to unlock that. So when you've got faster freight, faster delivery, more reliability, costs come down from a delivery perspective, and then what that does from an economic perspective, or I guess from an on-the-ground perspective, is that all the land re-rates. So there's upward pressure on land values because demand increases and the desirability increases, and then land values and property values go up. So anyone that gets in early from an investment perspective, they always benefit in the long run. Next slide. I've gone over that, so we can go through to the next one. So yeah, in terms of the investor outlook, so there's some real key, I guess, strategies and documents that specifically Stephen touched on, and we can share some of those resources with the viewers online at the end of this. So there is a lot to get through. But what I would say, in terms of a key theme, when you've got a very proactive and clear council that is committed to delivering on what the plan and strategy is, then that provides confidence on the ground to private enterprise and investors alike. So we're currently in that moment right now, which is why I'm super excited about Raymond Terrace for all these things coming together in terms of the location, the supporting fundamentals, and also those key infrastructure projects. The biggest piece to play, I would say, is the affordability piece. So we've got a lot of outside interest from Sydney looking to move into the regional areas, and we speak to a lot of Sydney-based people. And Newcastle and also the Hunter region is a huge priority, and Raymond Terrace, because of the affordability, which sits at about 30% below Newcastle. Newcastle is almost $1 million in terms of average home price now. So you look at a 30%, a 30% better affordability ratio, especially in the environment we're living in now, where cost of living is a big topic. Raymond Terrace, which is supported by a strong employment base, is a really attractive proposition. That Raymond Terrace strategy document, I encourage everyone to read that. We will share that with the viewers online. And I touched on before in terms of that investor focus, shifting from the metropolitan to those regional growth markets, and the biggest, I guess, value proposition is that affordability piece. So, that affordability gap is the real opportunity, especially for anyone that's looking from an investment perspective now to really take advantage of that. Development opportunities. Stephen touched on this as well. I've split it into 3 buckets. Greenfield, as Stephen touched on, Kings Hill. The town centre infill, medium density and value add. In terms of Raymond Terrace, it is land constrained. So one of the I guess when you look at different product types, Raymond Terrace as a whole is predominantly when you look at housing, it's predominantly houses. I think 4% of the entire makeup is around apartments, so it's almost next to no high density and very, very minimal medium density. And I think that that's a real opportunity, and I know that it's a mandate of council to really look at how they can deliver more housing and in what form that looks like. So I think in terms of development opportunities, that high density piece and absolutely the economics need to match, or feasibility need to match up. But given the metrics of Raymond Terrace or the demographics, there's a real, I guess, or my belief is that there's a real there will be a real demand in the future for high density and also certainly the medium density product type. The public and private partnership, in terms of a delivery model, I always, when you look at private enterprise, they really want certainty around, or as best they can, with whether what they're trying to achieve matches or aligns with council. And Port Stephens Council are really, really clear on what their strategy is and what their mandate is. So from an investment perspective, if you're looking to come and invest and deliver capital and deliver product to the region, council is very, very engaging with what they want to see. And so from a private perspective, that's as best as you can get. So all that in, I guess, a real life case study. So just recently, Commercial Collective were engaged to take to market the Raymond Terrace Town Centre, which is a key piece of land within the Raymond Terrace precinct. And what this highlighted for us was everything that both Mayor Anderson and also Stephen touched on before. It's around, how important it is, from a strategic perspective to supporting future growth and activation, and also being really, really clear on what the vision and long-term strategic goals are. And when that happens, how industry then engages. So this case study or EOI campaign that we undertook really highlighted how the industry engages when they're clear on what the expected outcomes from council are. We got really, really good insight and engagement and observation from that. And what we took away was where Raymond Terrace is heading as a whole. So we got really, really strong engagement from out of area that have a real belief in Raymond Terrace as a real force within the greater region of delivering something really, really bold, beautiful and grand in that precinct. And I just wanted to touch on that case study because often you get a lot of talk of what we're planning, what we're wanting to do, what we're wanting to achieve, and it's not always realised in real terms on the ground. But this really highlighted for me how industry really did believe and engage with what council had put forward in terms of a vision. So that's really, really exciting. The proponents that have engaged on it have really been active in what I mentioned before, which is a delivery of, I guess, a diverse product in around housing, and also that ground floor activation, so around essential needs and things like that. Key observation: the market increasingly values strategic collaboration from a long-term precinct planning, and that was really highlighted through that case study. Next slide. Is that it? Okay, so the big thing that I really wanted to bring home, because I think I've gone over time and I've got a lot of information on this, so I had 40 points and 10 minutes, so I've sort of jumped around a little bit, but I do have a lot of info that I think will be a big benefit to the viewers online, and I can share that with each of you when we finish today's event. But I'll finish with insights. Raymond Terrace is transitioning from a service-based centre into a real long-term investment and development opportunity. And when you pull it all together, that's the real shift. And there is a real shift. It's no longer just being valued as a service town. It's being valued by the market in real campaigns as a long-term investment and development opportunity. And this transition is happening now, but it's also still early, which means there's a lot of runway or upside in front of us. And then to bring it all home, like here's the pattern. And the pattern is the point. I touched on Newcastle before. Newcastle removed a barrier The council changed its appetite, and then private capital that had been waiting for a long period of time all moved within 2 years. They turned a dead mall into a $1 billion precinct, derelict waterfront into honeysuckle, and Raymond Terrace is that exact moment right now. The barrier, the Hexham bottleneck, the perception of distance, it's all being removed. The council's appetite, it's set out in 20-year strategy, and it's demonstrated by this event in real terms. The only piece that's not yet locked is the private capital, and that's you guys. And the question isn't whether Raymond Terrace repeats the Newcastle story, it's the infrastructure makes that close certain. It's whether you are either going to be early or late. But today, you're early. Thank you. Okay, so here's our survey question. What gives you the most confidence in a market? Just remember to scan that QR code if you haven't. Okay, we've got them. Just encourage everyone to engage with the survey. What gives the most confidence in the market? Okay, if we can get them rolling through. Government investment, population growth, connectivity, rental demand, government investment. Thank you, guys. Good engagement, government investment and population growth, very close. Government investment, population growth, very close. Good insights, that makes sense. We keep it going for just a little bit. We're good? Alrighty, so we'll move on. So thank you for engaging in that survey. So next up, we've got Bob Hawes, who a lot of people will know, I'm sure, online, CEO of Business Hunter. And he's going to talk about regional strategy and economic drivers. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Dane. Thanks for the opportunity, and good afternoon, everybody. Great day and great conversation. So I'm looking forward to the Q&A a little bit later, but hopefully what I'm here to do today is perhaps infill some of the broader drivers in the regional market that I believe, and many others believe, will help drive what's happening in Raymond Terrace and its broader catchment. Certainly a significant part of the Lower Hunter, and if everything goes to plan, will become increasingly more so. First slide, please. So what I thought I'd do was just look at some of the drivers across the region. Now, some of these are going to be obvious to many of you, and some of them perhaps not so. But the Hunter region is in a very fortunate position. It's a very diversified economy. It doesn't rely on just one sector to drive it along. It's multifaceted. At any one time, you know, even in business, and I'm sure many of you would know just by dealing with your clients, and if you're investors, you know this directly, that some businesses are going gangbusters while others are struggling. And fortunately, as I say, because of that diversification, the overall pulse of the Hunter region at the moment is still relatively strong. Even the latest unemployment figures, which rose in New South Wales and Australia, actually declined by similar numbers in the Hunter. So it didn't go down by much, but it didn't. At least they didn't go up. So just looking through these, and the first one I've listed is defence, and I think that's pretty well been covered. I mean, you'd have to be asleep under a rock not to know that what's going on at Williamtown at the moment. It is one of the region's biggest employers, with over 4,000 people employed on just base Williamtown base alone. Significant opportunities already happening there, and the ambition of the airport to go international and reach further into Southeast Asia and on into other destinations across the globe is also well documented and well supported by us and many other industry groups and stakeholders across the region, and we really look forward to that going ahead. Education and training. The University of Newcastle has a dominant position within our region, but now that well over 30,000 students are there enrolled at any one time, it's a significant number when you think about it. When you add that to the TAFE and also the offshoots that they have now up here, where we have centres of excellence in manufacturing, energy and robotics. So all these things add up to being able to make sure that the businesses that we do have up here are well placed to be able to identify skills and tradespeople to be able to service their needs. And the Hunter has long been recognised for having that as an attribute, and I believe we'll continue to do so. Housing's a tricky one. Like every other region around Australia at the moment, yeah, it's a struggle. We'd be lying to you if we said everything was beer and skittles and she's sweet. But in terms of what's happening here and the ambition that we have across a number of our sub-markets here in the region, it's a reasonably positive story if we can just unblock some of those infrastructure blockages that we've been talking about. And it's a matter of following the funds. The federal and state government haven't been shy about telling us that they're going to be trying to do something about housing, and people who are well positioned with good product and well advanced in their planning endeavours are going to be well placed to take advantage of that into the future. Infrastructure and logistics has been mentioned. The high-speed rail, of course, is an interesting prospect. It's now further down the track, excuse the pun, than it ever has been. They're investing over $600 million in design and investigation endeavours, and they just recently had an information gathering in Newcastle, and some of you might have been there for that, but 740 people turned up at NEX, representing over 17 different countries, to hear about what the high-speed rail has got in mind. So once again, we will, it won't be if, we will get indirect benefits from that and direct benefits from that if and when that project goes ahead, but it's certainly one to watch. Port of Newcastle, likewise, their diversity ambitions are absolutely dynamic. They know that in the long term they've got to move away from bulk trade into container trade and energy trade and other forms of international interactions, and they're doing that as we speak. They've developed an energy precinct down there which has got support from the federal government, and many industries and businesses and countries from around the world looking at this region to be able to, as a reliable trading partner that we have been in coal, to be also a reliable trading partner in future forms of energy. And it's also the point of import for many of the renewable components that are being shipped up to New England Northwest and Mudgee Central West at the moment, and that's going to be going on for many, many years. Newcastle Airport I mentioned, it's not only passenger services, but it's also freight services that they'll be looking at into the future. And obviously any land within Cooey of there around Tomago, Williamtown itself, will be in prime position to take advantage of the logistics companies that will set up or want to set up around here to support those industry endeavours into the future. Next slide, please. Mining and resources is an interesting one. People keep talking about the coal industry decline up here in the Hunter. It's very much an ambition for the region to do what we're doing now, in addition to taking on these new tasks and new opportunities that are coming our way. And in the mining and resources area, we are very blessed to have a workforce up here, as well as service companies that support those, to be looking at other areas in critical minerals and other forms of resources research. So it's not just going to end on a Friday and we have to be starting something else on a Monday. These businesses are already out there servicing other markets across the world, and they're going to stay here and they're going to continue to grow. And anyone that's supporting those industries is going to benefit from that change. There's also the reuse of mining lands. It's going to be absolutely enormous for people like Dane's business, where hundreds and hundreds, or literally thousands of hectares of opportunities are going to come up over the next 30 or 40 years here in the Hunter, with many of the companies that are involved having quite broad ambitions to make sure something's done with that land, given some of the infrastructure and connections that it already has, and how can we take advantage of that as a region going forward. The next one is the renewables and the energy sector, and it goes without saying that the Hunter is under a very, very sharp and intense focus for what we can deliver or help deliver to serve the national needs. Now, we've been blessed over the years to be the focus for and the driving force behind coal generation electricity here in New South Wales, and we know those coal-fired power stations are forecast for closure, but what we can do in other forms of energy, it's already happening. We've got many companies up here, some of them up in Tomago, as a matter of fact, that are looking at those new form renewable energy research and battery storage, different ways that businesses can electrify and way they can do that economically and efficiently, and that sector is only going to grow. A lot of government programs and in support of bolstering businesses that can do that. And just as recently as the federal budget, a couple of weeks ago, there was more support being announced for repositioning of funding to be able to support people in that renewable energy sector. We've also got manufacturing opportunities up here, and Tomago is fortunate that there's only 40 businesses here in the Hunter that have got 200 or more employees, and I think the share of those that's in that Tomago, Williamtown, Raymond Terrace band is probably reasonably overdone when you consider AMP Control, Varley, what's happening at the airport. There's a big lick of those, and many of those are diversified. Those diversified manufacturers that do that have a huge ongoing multiplier effect for business support businesses around them, and that's what we're seeing today, and I believe we'll see more of that into the future. There's many other sectors that support renewable energy, and as I said, it's a real effort at the moment. I speak to many businesses up here that would love to be doing more. Their capacity is only held back by, at the moment, by getting the right people with skills and experience to be able to help them drive along. But I can't see that ambition going away. I can't see the government fading on its endeavours in relation to renewable energy. Notwithstanding, at times we get distraction from other opportunities or other talk of doing it other ways. Whatever the way is, the Hunter's going to be playing an important part of that, and that part of the world where those manufacturers are based will continue to play a big role in that. Leah mentioned the visitor economy. That's a huge one for that part of the world. It's not just about what we can do in tourism visitors, but in the longer term, Newcastle International Airport links. We've got money for a super yacht facility in Newcastle Harbour, part of Newcastle Cruising Yacht Club. And we already have in our DNA maritime servicing and maritime building, and some of our manufacturers have gone on to other things, but they can quickly turn their hand back to those sorts of opportunities that might come our way in there, and the visitor economy more generally. I'm certainly looking forward to the opportunity to see how they pan out. At the end of all that, Leah did point out it's about collaboration, and the partnerships between government and private sector are very important. But I do have to say that from a Hunter region point of view, although we do miss out on budgets every now and again for things that we target or we want, when you look through the plethora of government programs and grant opportunities that support industry through things like the Reconstruction Fund, the $15 billion National Reconstruction Fund, each 7 of those pillars we can tick up here in the Hunter. We're not someone who can just half tick one and go out there and half-heartedly apply for it. They all are relevant up here to our economy. And this part of the world, Tomago, Williamtown and Raymond Terrace, that positioning with the M1, and as Dane said, it's not just examples like Newcastle, there's examples like happened at Morisset, what happened at Cameron Park, and even what happened up along the extension of the Hunter Expressway, where you saw towns turn around near Curry, and just what happens once those connections are made. It's sort of like a magic wand and can change communities and can change areas almost instantly. That's all from me for the moment. Thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to Q&A and talking more about these wonderful aspects that we have ahead for this part of the world. Thanks, Dane.
Thank you, Bob. That was very informative. Appreciate that. And I grew up in Curry, so thanks for the mention, mate. That was good. We're going to move to the Q&A now. So the Q&A, the questions have been predetermined, and it's on the back of the involvement from from the registrations. So there's been a lot of questions that have been compiled, and we've taken note of those, and we'll be answering them across the panel. So thank you. Before we start the Q&A, we'll just quickly do our last survey question on the back of Bob's presentation. So what is the biggest opportunity emerging in the Lower Hunter? Just a reminder to scan the QR code. What is the biggest opportunity emerging in the Lower Hunter? Okay, we're going to move on to the Q&A, which is going to be hosted by Sarah Willcox, my colleague. So Sarah's next to me. Sarah is Associate Director at Commercial Collective. So welcome, Sarah.
Thanks for the introduction. So these panel questions were submitted by our online guests today as part of the registration process. So if we don't have a chance to answer all the questions, they will be available on Port Stephens Council website under FAQ on their event website. So I'll place the opening question actually with you, Dane. You mentioned to be early. Why is now the right time for investors and developers to consider Raymond Terrace, and which sectors are currently generating the strongest interest?
Okay. Well, I think, across all the panel presentations today, it's painted a really clear picture. And it shows a real alignment from both what council are saying to what we're seeing from an industry perspective, and then from Bob, being the CEO of Business Hunter, from an advocacy perspective as well. So, when you get all that alignment, it paints a really, really clear picture. But why now? I've touched on the infrastructure and the infrastructure projects being such a key provider of economic uplift on the back of those projects being delivered. And that's been tried and tested time and time again. And we have that now pointing directly to Raymond Terrace. And we spoke about capital following certainty, and a lot of these infrastructure projects are not mooted or proposed. They're actual dates on a calendar that they're going to be delivered. So on the back of that, we're going to see a real upside in investment, returns, land value increases. Around that Heather Brae, around the Tomigo precincts, we're going to see a real unlock through there, and that's all going to flow through to Raymond Terrace.
Yeah, exciting. So conversely, Steve, what does council see as the major barriers to investment in Raymond Terrace?
Thanks, Sarah. Look, I think at this point in time, there's not too many barriers to investment. It's a pretty fantastic opportunity. We've got a very collaborative and open council who's looking to work quite closely with developers and investors right across Raymond Terrace. We've got a really strong strategic planning framework that's in place and continuing to be worked on to be able to, create that certainty that Dane was talking about. I think is a really important point. There's the certainty of infrastructure that we've all spoken about already today, but I think that certainty from a local government perspective is always really key for developers and investors. And for us, making sure that we have a philosophy around a sustainable, balanced, growth mindset is really important. I certainly know the councillors and the staff definitely live that. We're always talking about balancing growth with livability. And for us, this means making sure that our future resi, commercial and industrial development is really well connected to local infrastructure, to local job opportunities that we've all spoken about previously. And for us, that certainty is about ensuring that we've got a really strong, I mentioned, strategic planning framework. And that's why we're undertaking things like our Raymond Terrace Place Plan. Dane talked about the existing Raymond Terrace and Heather Brae strategy, but we're building on the back of that as we speak with the Raymond Terrace Place Plan. We've got a really strong endorsed local housing strategy and housing supply plan, great documents for any developers and investors to be able to go and have a look at. We're doing a lot of industrial lands planning as we speak. We've always got strong infrastructure investment programs right across council. And of course, we mentioned earlier our ongoing improvements to our planning and assessment systems. So I think the approach that council's taking, we're really focused on ensuring there's really strong alignment between that housing growth and employment growth. The time's right, like Dane mentioned earlier. I think part of that timing is we've got a housing crisis. We're all talking about the need to deliver on that housing. The affordability piece in Raymond Terrace is a real strong attractor, I would think, to developers in industry, plus all the expanding major infrastructure that we've got. So I think council's key role here is just about driving collaboration. The door's open. We're willing to talk to investors. We're willing to collaborate. And we are working daily to create that certainty through a really strong strategic planning and assessment framework.
Great. And as Dane mentioned, capital follows that certainty as well. So very good. Thank you. There has been a question about social housing. So Mayor Anderson, I'll throw this one to you. Are there any plans to reduce areas of concentrated social housing within Raymond Terrace?
Yeah, thanks for this question. Look, council does recognise that there is a need to increase and to diversify the housing stock in Port Stephens, and this does include social housing. There is increased demand and very long wait times for social housing, and is impacting members of our community. So in an initiative to understand and address the housing stress, council did develop a homelessness stakeholder advisory group in the last term of council. I chair this group. The group provides council with strategic advice on homelessness and works with council to address local issues and preferred solutions. The group, so abbreviated, it's called the HSAG. The HSAG has worked closely with council to advocate to the state and federal government, who is responsible for social housing, and to commit greater investment in social and affordable housing. And I will add there that we've got both our state member and our federal member a part of this group. They're members of this group. So when we're sitting down at the table, we're talking to the key players that need to support us. With regards to housing stock, a large portion of our social housing stock in Raymond Terrace, it's just no longer fit for purpose due to its age or it's inappropriate in size. So ideally, what we would like to see is a renewal of our social housing stock in Raymond Terrace, which would not only benefit tenants, but also the broader community. So to facilitate this, council has developed the Raymond Terrace Sub-Precinct Master Plan in partnership with Homes New South Wales and Hume Community Housing in 2024. The master plan shows where and how additional social and affordable housing could be provided within key infill precincts. Now, the plan's objective is to support the redevelopment of this old housing stock with a more diverse mix of housing to boost supply and appropriateness and community wellbeing. This initiative will benefit owner-occupiers by replacing aged social housing with a mix of new, high-quality social and affordable development. And this will diversify our neighbourhoods where there is currently a large concentration of social housing.
Well, we look forward to seeing that master plan. Our next question came up a few times, and I'll raise this with you, Steve. What flood mitigation prevention strategies are currently being explored or implemented, and what impact could these initiatives have on future investment and development across the region?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Look, no good discussion about Raymond Terrace would happen without talking about flooding. It's obviously a real constraint, particularly for the lower parts of the town. So we all know Raymond Terrace is at the confluence of the Hunter River there, a really attractive part of, what we all love about Raymond Terrace as well. So council's responsible for managing flood risk for the future development through lots of our internal strategies and our land use planning. And we have a number of flood mitigation measures in place for Raymond Terrace, including the levee, the existing levee there, and 2 council owned and operated flood pump stations. We're currently upgrading the existing Burke Street pump station to reduce flood risk in Raymond Terrace and around the town. We're very successful in winning some state grant funding. At this stage, there's an investment of around $3 million, which will help reduce the vulnerability of the Raymond Terrace community to flood risk and increase that flood resilience for the existing and growing community of Raymond Terrace. So the capacity of those flood pumps hopefully increased significantly from 150 litres a second to around 2,000 litres a second. So we can move water a lot quicker once we do get water into that lower part of the town centre. And certainly improving flood mitigation systems helps to unlock additional areas, becomes an enabler for council to review existing flood and land use strategies around Raymond Terrace, and hopefully enable us to unlock additional opportunities, although those things would be subject to further investigation, obviously. But certainly flood mitigation, our understanding of flooding within Raymond Terrace is quite detailed, and we're continuing to look at those opportunities, Sarah, to unlock those opportunities with a flood risk around it.
Fantastic. Thanks, Steve. Look, Heather Brae has long been a key destination for trade supplies, fuel services and convenience retail. Dane, you touched on the M1 earlier. How could upcoming infrastructure upgrades and zoning changes influence this activity in the area? I'll pass to you, Dane and Bob, on this one.
Yeah, sure. Bob will probably provide a more detailed response than I will, but look, from an agency perspective, I've just seen it time and time again on the ground, and I've spoken about it in the presentation time and time again around infrastructure and what happens when infrastructure is delivered, and this is what we have now. So you've got the Hexham Strait upgrade, you've got the M1 extension that's underway, and we've had the rezoning of different areas within the Heather Brae precinct. All those things culminate to investment. It's as simple as that. And that's what private enterprise does. They follow the money, they follow the certainty, and on the back of it, they deliver what the market wants and needs. And that is a good thing for the community. And so that's what we have within that precinct.
And Bob?
Yeah, I think it is the M1 spine is the essential ingredient, but I think what it does is it allows you to take a larger view of an area once you get these enabling infrastructure elements. So what that means is that where it's a local trade area, it's just built on a very restricted catchment based on those links and that connectivity. Once you improve that, I think we can look more broadly at the Tomago, Raymond Terrace, Heather Brae submarket in the context of its proximity to the junction with the Hunter Expressway, but also, as Dane said, the Hexham Strait, going right back down to the inner city bypass, which is also going to be completed within the next few years. So it just changes the game as far as that accessibility point of view, which is so important to so many industries in with logistics and transport, cutting down travel time costs and all those other things that go with it. So it does bring a different lens onto places like that, and I think we'll probably see a regeneration of some of the uses that are up there into uses that can take more advantage of that access. And we've seen that in the past. As I said, Morisset was transformed when the M1 went scooting past. Even Beresfield and Thornton, their initial was there, but once those connections came through, that interest that just drove into those areas, and we're still seeing it today, it has been a significant change, and I think the same's going to happen to this sub-market.
Yeah, and just to touch on that, like from how that is realised in real terms from a land value perspective, talking about just the completion of that M1 and what it's done for Beresfield, Black Hill, and places like that. We saw land values over the space of a couple of years double, and that is because of its access into that land and being unlocked. And so when you look at Heatherbray, you look at Hexham, you look at Tomago, and what that access piece is going to look like, then it is going to no doubt see values of both properties and land increase.
Great. And look, speaking of that access piece, Bob, you said fast rail is further down the track. What are the potential implications of the formal approval for the Sydney to Newcastle fast rail, and how could the project influence future growth, connectivity and investment across the region?
Yeah, good question, Sarah, thanks. Well, immediately, obviously, the $600 million that they're going to commit to hopefully some Hunter local firms get the benefit of that. As I said, a lot of people turned up at that information session to take advantage of the opportunity to see what might be in it for them. I think longer term, it is just about connectivity, and that it will be a soft change in that not only will Newcastle be brought closer to Central Coast and Sydney, but Central Coast and Sydney will be brought closer to Newcastle. So that opportunity would have been lovely to see that. There's certainly a future line opportunity up north, right up to Brisbane, but it would have been great to see that go through to the airport. And I know Mayor Anderson probably whispered in a few ears to try and see if that was a prospect, but for now it'll be Broadmeadow. It might take some time to complete. But I think the immediate opportunities around construction and development of the whole program will be significant for the Hunter region.
Great. You mentioned, Bob, people wanting to partner with council. I might throw this to Mayor Anderson. Is council open to partnering with industry to deliver housing?
Yes, absolutely, 1,000%. Partnerships are going to be critical if we're going to address housing supply challenges right across our region. And we've got a really strong example of this already with our partnership with Hume Community Housing. So together, Council, Hume Housing and Homes New South Wales, we're progressing a significant social and affordable housing renewal program in Raymond Terrace. And this will see us deliver 162 new homes across 5 sites. Now, importantly, this isn't conceptual. We've already proven delivery underway through our Phillip Street project, where 13 social and affordable housing units are approved and ready for delivery. So that was the knockdown of 3 very old social homes and replacing it with 13. So the settings are already there in place. The local housing strategy is endorsed. Our planning pathways are established. Our precincts are identified. The SEP amendments support affordable housing delivery, and there is a strong political and organisational support. Now, this is exactly the type of collaborative model that we believe can unlock broader housing outcomes in Raymond Terrace. And from Council's perspective, we are open to partnering with industry where there is alignment around quality outcomes, housing diversity, and also long-term community benefit.
Great. Well, to that point, there's been some updated legislation around prefabricated and modular construction. I understand that's currently under review. what's council's current position on supporting or approving these types of developments ahead of this bill being finalised?
I'm happy to answer that one, Sarah. Look,
Great.
yeah, council's obviously very supportive of innovative design improvements, and certainly the bill that's before the government at the moment. We're really supportive of prefabbed off-site modular constructions, MMC style, and we're looking to be able to approve their installation in line with our existing approval pathways. As I said, council's really supportive of innovative design, as long as it fits with our existing planning frameworks, and that current bill will enhance the approval pathways for that type of structure, which certainly has the potential to encourage their adoption by investors and developers into the future.
Great. You said 57 days for that DA earlier. Is that correct?
Yeah, we certainly have a pretty rapid response development assessment team. So,
yeah, amazing. Well done. What feedback are you hearing, and this question's for you, Dane, just to prepare you, what feedback are you hearing from developers and investors already active in the market, particularly around affordability, feasibility and growth potential compared with nearby centres?
Well, if I just look at, I guess, industry as a whole, or developers as a whole, the biggest thing that they've been talking about, or the biggest hurdle to overcome at the moment, is construction pricing. There's been just constant pressure on construction pricing for years now, and when we thought we were going to start getting some relief, it just hasn't happened. So that has made the development landscape challenging for the last several years. And because of that, developers are really, I guess, seeking a lot of clarity around the delivery of product and the time in which it's going to take them to deliver that product. No developer wants to buy something and sit around and just have it idle along. Developers are there to develop. That's what they do. They develop product. I mentioned it before. They deliver what the market appetite is, and they're there to do that, and they do it well. And so the unlock for developers is around working with, being really clear on the planning, what is permissible, what is not permissible, and then understanding how long it will actually take to deliver the product. That's the only real way around the overcoming the construction pricing and therefore the cost to actually deliver the product. So that would be, I guess, the biggest item that is of conversation. In the past, it was around, well, is there enough market depth to take up and absorb the product? That is not the discussion now. It's, if I buy this site, can I deliver what I need to deliver in a timely fashion, so I can manage the actual construction or the pricing of the construction.
Yeah, that was just echoed in the survey we had earlier, the construction costs. So very, very real and live. So, Bob, what would you say to investors who may still underestimate the long-term potential of Raymond Terrace?
It's interesting because it's going to change. It's in a very dynamic position, and I think, and I'm sure Dane will attest that sometimes the early adopters in these sort of circumstances are the one that get the most benefit. And even though sometimes it's hard to make it exactly tangible as to what and where, but it's just a matter of not if, it's a matter of when. So I think the whole thing about the connectivity and the proximity improvements are going to drive that. And secondly, it's already diverse in its representation. If you look at that broader area across Raymond Terrace, Heather Brae, Tomago, and out to Williamtown, it's not single dimensional at all. It's multifaceted already, and they're the key anchor points for driving more demand and more diversity as a consequence of this evolutionary change that we're now seeing.
Great. Well, I believe we've got time for probably two more questions. One that I did want to ask and direct to you, Bob, is the Mayor spoke about place planning. How important are town centre vibrancy, walkability, connectivity and the nighttime economy in shaping Raymond Terrace's future identity and livability?
Yeah, I think it's important, and Dane referred to the example of what's happened in Newcastle, which is a much bigger regional city in that context. But remembering that the Lower Hunter is represented by a number of significant villages, as it were, or town centres, of which Raymond Terrace is one, as they become important places to live or desirable places to live and work, that play opportunity will emerge. It's not necessarily something you can go there and plonk and then wait for the market to come, but I think we'll see that market develop. And I think Steve and Leah have made it pretty clear that Council's looking forward to being able to partnership to develop those opportunities where it is government's concerned to make sure they're concurrent with the development that's going to take place. So there is community amenity and there is social infrastructure in place that makes those places even more desirable.
Great. So our final question, and one for each of you. What do you believe is the single biggest opportunity for Raymond Terrace? What is the single biggest opportunity you believe Raymond Terrace offers investors right now?
Who's going first? Oh, Mayor Anderson.
Look, I'm happy to start that one. And what's really great, and it was touched on at the very start, is you've got not only a council, but you've got your elected council all working together on this one. We all want to see Raymond Terrace develop. So you're not going to be seeing divisions of politics or anything else playing out here. We see the potential. We understand the benefits to our existing community and our future communities. And we're excited that the council want to do this. So we're all putting our efforts into this. We want to see Raymond Terrace rise out of the ashes and show everybody what it can achieve as we go forward. We've talked about all the reasons why today. So investors, if you want to come and start talking to us, we're ready with open arms and we're waiting to have that conversation with you.
Excellent. Thanks, Mayor. And Steve?
Yes, I'm happy to follow on from the Mayor there, Sarah.
Yes.
Look, I echo what the Mayor said. I think there's really amazing alignment between the elected officials of council and the staff, and certainly the planning staff. There's a real genuine appetite to see Raymond Terrace rise from the ashes, as the Mayor says. Look, in terms of the single biggest opportunity, certainly its proximity to Newcastle, existing infrastructure, growing infrastructure, and its affordability, without a doubt, makes it such an amazing opportunity for investors and developers, and all that is supported by a really great planning framework and really strong alignment from the council. So.
Wonderful. Thanks, Steve. Dane?
Yeah, sure. I mentioned it earlier as well. It's like how many clips do you see online where the councillors or the mayor aren't getting on, or they're yelling abuse at each other, and they've got all these polar opposite views and things like that. It keeps me entertained for a long period of time. But I've witnessed the exact opposite with Port Stephens Council. So everything that Mayor Anderson and Stephen have touched on, I've actually witnessed it from a councillor's mayor, planning team, throughout the entire organisation with Port Stephens Council. There seems to be, or there is, real alignment and a cohesiveness to ensuring that Raymond Terrace, as a local, but also a broader community, really steps up, stands up, and makes themselves known, and is really putting their hand up and saying, hey, we are here, and we want to build something special, we want to deliver something special, and we want people to come and invest here. On a side note, like, you know, I look at both signal and noise. Like, often we get caught in the noise, and I think being in a local market, you can get caught up in noise a lot. And Raymond Terrace is often sort of referred to as a bit of a sleepy service town. But when you look at the signal, like what is actually underlying and what is real, it tells a very, very different story. And you know, that to case in point is, I was talking to an investor that's based in Western Sydney yesterday, who's an accountant, and this was just a random conversation, and he mentioned to me that 12 months ago he bought an investment property in Raymond Terrace, and he lives in Western Sydney, of all places.
Yes.
And he said that investment has performed since he's bought it. It continues to perform really, really strongly, more so than any of his other investments. And so he's now looking in that area again. And that was just a total random conversation that I was having with him yesterday. So that, to me, goes to my point around signal and noise. You know, local, you can get caught up in the noise, but if you actually focus on the underlying fundamentals, which this person was, then Raymond Terrace presents as a really strong investment playground.
And also that affordable housing thematic as well.
Yeah, like
Yep.
Sydney 1.2 average house
Correct.
price, Newcastle $1 million, Raymond Terrace 700. So it's
Ready. Be early.
yeah.
And we'll finish on a high with Bob.
Well, we've talked about a lot of the physical attributes, but hearing what Mayor Anderson and Steve said, I think it's got to be the can-do attitude that would please investors and developers that are looking for opportunities in that market, for sure. So, you know, get in now and beat the rush.
Wonderful. That concludes our panel discussion. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for managing the Q&A. And thank you to all of our presenters today. So Bob Hawes, CEO, Business Hunter, Stephen Peart, Port Stephens Council, and also Mayor Anderson, Port Stephens Council, for your presentation today. On behalf of us all, thank you to all the viewers online. It was, as I mentioned from the outset, it's a pioneering event. And it shows the proactive approach that Port Stephens Council is adopting to encouraging investment within the region. So thank you for everyone that's made the time. It's been a real encouraging take-up. We had over 200 people register for the event, so thank you. The QR code, sorry, thank you, I've just been reminded. So there is a QR code, so please scan the QR code, which will be up on your screen now, to provide feedback on the event. Thank you.